but we obviously were in need of a win, and it certainly was a tough one to come by. I'm really proud of the group. I felt like the last 10 days or so we were feeling sorry for ourselves. And what I said to the group after the game was that when we started the season, I don't think anybody knew what the expectations were for this group. We were a mystery. And any expectations that evolved as we went through the year was based on what they had done. And so any adversity that we come up across was something that we needed to stay together on and work through ourselves. And we got humbled in Florida. But we created a scenario where those were big time opportunities for our team. They did that, the group, the kids that was just in here sitting with you. And we learned that we didn't level up, so to speak. And so in the aftermath of that disappointment, we just couldn't get that funk off of us. And it wasn't until Monday of this week that I felt like I had my team back. I was missing those guys. They always come, they play hard and all that, but there's a certain confidence and spirit that we've played with for the vast majority of the year that had been missing. And it was missing in the first half again. And I was surprised and disappointed because on the practice floor Monday and Tuesday, I felt like we had a little bit of that juice back. And I was expecting to see that. And we got some of it in the second half, thankfully. And then our backs were against the wall, and we found a way to win a game that we really needed. So I'm really proud of these guys. I'm happy for them. And we got to get back to the business of improving here now with a lot of basketball ahead.
What's it like as you're watching your team get some pretty good looks, but 18 misses in a row, just how do you kind of try and navigate that with them?
At one point, we had like 4 offensive rebounds and missed 4 shots, and I literally laughed. Like it wasn't comical, but it was. We came to that next time out, and the assistant coaches rushed over to me and said, "Please be positive in this timeout." and so I tried to do that. But I feel like, what I was describing to you, us feeling sorry for ourselves, like I felt like our disposition was such that those missed shots were a byproduct of where our minds were at. It's not just as simple as the ball going in or not. Sometimes if you're not fully engaged and you're not really all the way in the fight, then you leave room for that. And then you could always say we got good looks, but they didn't go in. But that wasn't it. We weren't fighting. We really weren't fighting. And the misses were a result of that to me, because we weren't fully engaged. And it's like we wanted the basketball gods to gift us something because we've been, we're feeling sorry for ourselves as opposed to going out and taking something. And our backs were against the wall in the second half, and we responded.
Sam looked at the stat sheet and said the numbers looked worse than he thought. And you went to the locker room with 22 points. What did you guys talk about in the locker room at halftime?
You know what? I was pretty passionate at halftime for the same reasons that I opened up with. Like we got to grow up right now. We got a good group. They love one another. They enjoy playing with one another. But that ain't good enough. That just gives you a chance, right? And I mentioned threats because I'm not watching this anymore. I'm not going to sit there and watch this and beg these guys to stop feeling sorry for themselves and hope something good happens to them. It just doesn't work like that. Okay, you lost 3 games. It's college basketball. Who are we that we're supposed to win all the time? Like, you have to get back up on a horse and you got to fight again. And so we lost. We got humbled. We went to Florida Atlantic, and they were better than us that night. And then we went to South Florida, and they were better than us that night. And we haven't competed since. This is what we're talking about at halftime. And in the second half, we fought. And when you fight, there's no guarantees. We fought, they fought back. That's college basketball. They're well coached, and they're fighting, and we're fighting, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. But what showed up in the first half, you're not giving yourselves a chance. We gave ourselves a chance, and we found a way in the second half.
I know you talked a little bit about it before, but Zurich was 0 for 7 from 3 before he made the game-tying shot. Chuck was, I think, 0 for 4 before he made the one late in the second half, and then the first one early in overtime. How do you kind of toe that line of maybe we need to stop taking those shots versus trusting those guys?
There is no line. There's no line to toe. Chuck Harris is open, he should shoot it. Ricardo Wright is open, he should shoot it. Zurich is taking good shots, and he goes 0 for 10, then he just goes 0 for 10. It's not our night. But there is no line to toe. There's a line to toe when you're forcing the issue and you're taking bad shots. And sometimes with good players, there's a line there, right? But as far as taking the shots that present themselves, there is no line. And I was proud of Z. This time last year, he doesn't go 10 for 10 from the free throw line. So he showed a lot of resolve and toughness. And these guys know that I believe in him. That allows him to make that shot, right? And so, but if they're worried about how I feel about them taking good shots, then that's the line, and I don't want any line to be there.
Sam led the team in rebounding. Can you speak to the impact he's had on this program the last 2 years, on the court, off the court, and everything?
Yeah, I think for me to get this job, and for him to right away, for he and I to connect, and for him to commit to us, it gave us a little bit of credibility as a staff. I've had a history in Texas, but I'm not a Texas guy, quote unquote, And for us to get here and get a guy who's a former McDonald's All-American, who's coming from an ACC school, and for him to right away connect with me and decide, I think it gave us some credibility. And I got a lot of respect for Sam because he's such a hard worker. He works. And he's had to deal with something that, and I talk to the staff all the time about, none of us can put ourselves in his shoes. His journey has been a great one in a lot of ways, and it's been very challenging for him to be as good as he was, and for that to be compromised by something beyond his control, and for him to still be dealing with it. And we're asking him to eliminate that from your mind and just do these other things right now. And it sounds easy, but it's not. And especially for someone who loves it. He loves the game. He does, and he works at it. And what do we tell young people? If you really work at something, you're going to get the results. Well, in his case, from a shooting standpoint, a guy who in high school was a 5-star prospect who could shoot, and for that to be taken from him, and for us to say, just focus on these other things, and he's in there working at it every day. If there's a ball bouncing in the gym at midnight, it's probably him. And what we all tell kids, if you work at it, you'll get the results. And he's working at it, and he's not getting the results. And the other teams are playing off of him, daring him to shoot. And he's a confident guy with an ego. That's what makes him good. And you're going out in the games, and the scouting report is to let you shoot. Like, how do you handle that and still rebound and still care about winning and still be a good teammate? So I think his impact is felt in a lot of ways. And I've tried my best without beating a dead horse to make sure his teammates understand that he's in a unique situation, and he's a proud guy, and but I'm proud of him.
Zurich said that he thinks of you guys as a defense first team, and so often we sit here and ask you about the leading scorers from one night to the next. Zurich is 8th in school history in steals, and I'm just wondering how you've seen him grow as a defensive player since you've been here.
Well, he went for a steal late in this game that was ill-advised. burst of speed, he would have been a heck of a football player. But the real growth is twofold. Number one, he's really developing a true understanding of how much he needs his teammates. And he is leaning into that as a communicator. You know, especially the last 2 days. I was so proud of him Monday and Tuesday. The other thing is, defensively, he really wants the challenge. He wants the challenge. You know, he was really disappointed because the kid Curry came in here and, you know, he worked us out, you know, and we weren't great defensively, and he wants those challenges. And Felton, even though Felton scored his points, if you're going to be a great defensive player, you have to be undeterred when a guy scores. You have to keep making him work. And he wants those challenges. And the third thing that he's really improved on is his poise through the ups and downs of a game. He is developing a level of emotional intelligence that we need during the course of a game. And it's what allowed him to make a shot when he was 0 for 7 from 3 to make one when it really mattered, because he's been undeterred. And so there's a lot of growth there that I'm really proud to be a part of.
Kind of with that, this group, Zurich and Jalen may have had it a little bit their freshman year, but about playing meaningful games in March, and that it doesn't have to be pretty, but as long as you have one more point at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Has that message been talked about at all coming down this final stretch going into the conference tournament?
Yeah, the context in which we've approached that is, you know, you always talk about a team's experience, right? And, you know, that's been well documented, the experience, inexperience, whatever. But I often say to you guys that every team has a 1-year lifespan. So if you look at it through that lens, this team has had some great experiences this year, tonight included, the 3-game losing streak included, the 6-game winning streak before that included, the disappointment against Wisconsin and Dayton and at Arizona State, the wins at Florida State and in the league and on the road. All of these things make up the experiences for this group is only together for this season. And this stretch of games that we've just had is a part of our experience as a group. And I think what I hope that they walk away with and what we want them to understand is that you really have to get up the next day and get back to work and turn the page. And I really think our struggles started with the Memphis game. That it started with the parade. I mean, it wasn't an actual parade, but it felt like one. That, to your point, they hadn't experienced that. The atmosphere in the arena, the adulation that came as a result of how the game turned out, and then we had 2 days to just be showered with all of this. And I don't know that we turned the page, and I think we walked into FAU not fully understanding what we were getting ready to go up against. And that we hadn't gotten that funk off of us quite yet, and hopefully tonight helps us to move forward with the confidence that I know that we're capable of playing with.
You talk about getting up the next day and going back to work, and obviously you've got work still to do with UAB and the conference tournament, but tonight puts you at 20 victories for the year. Considering what last year looked like and the way the group that you brought together at the start of this season, what does 20 victories mean to you?
Well, in our profession, it still stands as a benchmark, right? You know, I don't look at it relative to last year. I look at it relative to the program we're trying to build and for what we want to accomplish, that these kinds of benchmarks come with that. So we can't get to those things without this. We need to be able to break through this particular threshold for who we want to become as a program. So in and of itself, it's noteworthy for that reason, because the things that we want to accomplish as a program exist beyond 20 wins. But in order for us to get to those things, this is one of the things that the bridges that we need to cross.
I know you said Saturday you guys aren't looking at any seating or anything like that. Do you, at least as a staff, start to look at that going into the last day?
With
now
2
that-
minutes and something left, we were down by 5, and we needed to find a way to win the game, and I'm not thinking about no damn seating. And then we got to go on the road and find a way to win at UAB, and then if we can do that, we'll find out who we play, and we'll be excited about that opportunity. So I don't think it's a motivating thing for these guys right now. If we win this game, we're going to be a double bye. I just don't think that's the motivation. I think the motivation for this group right now has to be the competition, the opportunity to go on the road and win. And we need to continue to experience winning. And we can't be afraid about things not going our way. We need to go after it. And I thought we came into this game afraid to go after it, that we wanted something to happen for us instead of going and making something happen. And it has to be about that. I don't think if I talk to them about the seeding that they're going to defend better. Like when this game started, there were loose balls. They beat us to them. There were offensive rebounds there. They got the better of them. They executed better. They played with more force. Is the seeding conversation going to affect that in any way? Like, we gotta get lost in the competition, and that's what I talked to them about.